Hey, let's talk about the difference between your trauma and your intuition. There's so much information on the internet about listen to your body, and if your body is doing this, then it's not the right situation for you. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't listen to your body. What I'm talking about here is discernment, being able to identify, is this trauma? Is this intuition? Now, being a psychic development teacher, as well as being an energy healer teacher and working with a lot of highly sensitive people who are energy healers themselves, who are also feeling subtle bodies, working with subtle energy. There's a lot I've observed, but also a lot I've learned being one of those people myself. So I'm going to speak from that perspective, and you are always welcome to, make up your own mind. That's the most important thing here, is you are sovereign and you choose what resonates with you. So to understand trauma, you have to have a basic understanding of what it's actually doing in the brain. It affects 3 different parts of the brain. So it affects the part of the brain that has memory, the part of the brain that deals with emotion. It also affects the part of your brain that deals with logical, rational thinking. So that's emotion, memories, and logical, rational thinking. So your brain identifies a threat. It then triggers a memory of the trauma and also your emotional center. So now your body literally has a physical response and reaction to whatever seems like the traumatic incident. So this is a very brief description of what happens in the body when there's trauma. So that is going to be very body-based. So it is possible that you can meet someone who actually has good intentions and is good for you, but because your brain is scrambling what it is seeing and it is just identified one part that looks like a part of trauma, it can then draw its own conclusions and fill in the blanks of like, oh, this is exactly like that past traumatic incident. So that is something that you've really got to be aware of. And the way you develop this awareness is by becoming a lot more aware of your bodily responses. And this is why I'm totally for everybody paying more attention to what is happening in my body when I'm having this experience. Side note, there's always a sensation in your body when you're actually having an experience with someone, whether that's positive or negative. You've got to learn, like, what is that sensation kind of telling you? And you'll learn that the more you observe your body. So trauma is going to give you a response like that. And it's often quite intense, it's quite sharp, and it's quite alarming. You're not going to miss it. And you're going to be able to feel that your brain isn't necessarily working that well. It's going to feel like your brain is on hyper alert, or it's going to feel like it's on shutdown, and you're not going to really be able to take in any new information. You're not going to be able to use your critical thinking or rational kind of thinking. When that happens, then you know it's trauma. So if you're having a situation, for example, when you're opposite someone and you're going into that kind of response, I'm going to say, listen to that, because you need to take care of yourself. And whatever that means, if that means separating yourself from the person and finding some space until you can calm yourself, totally do that. But that is usually a trauma response. And putting yourself in a safe space so that you can understand what's going on with yourself is going to enable you to understand what is actually going on with yourself. Intuition, on the other hand, is not going to scramble you. It's not going to make your mind stop working. It's not going to make you put you in an intense, like, alarm kind of space. That is not going to happen. It comes through clearly. It comes through often. It can come with emotion. It can come as a bodily sensation, but the feeling behind it is not, it's not murky. It doesn't feel like something that needs to be processed. It's a knowing. So a big difference and big way of being able to discern the difference is when it's trauma, it's got a kind of murkier, denser kind of feel to it. And when it's intuition, there's a clarity that comes through with it, and that there's this very, very strong sense of knowing. Okay, so that is how I would, there's a lot more I could say on this, but that is how I would distinguish the two. Now, you're not, like if you're starting out and if you've got a lot of trauma that you need to work through, you're not going to be able to just identify it like that. But that's part of the work. It's part of the work for you to be able to go like, oh, this is actually my trauma working out. And oh, this is actually my intuition. And the reason it works this way is so that you can develop this kind of muscle and develop this kind of awareness. The only way you really know how something works is also by testing it out for yourself, especially if it's something like intuition. Okay, that philosophy doesn't always apply to every single thing. But when it comes to intuition, if you're going to figure out how your intuition works, you have to do it because it's your intuition. So I have a lot of clients who come to me and then they'll talk about how their intuition led them to a bad place. And why would your intuition lead you to a bad place? There's a complete misunderstanding there of what your intuition is supposed to be doing for you if that's the kind of perspective you have. Your intuition is not meant to just guide you into experiences that are going to be rainbows and sunshine and, I don't know, the moon shining and nothing ever going wrong. Or nothing ever being unpleasant. A big part of the reality we live in is that we have these contrasting kind of experiences to help us grow, to help us understand, to help propel us forward. A lot of people, doesn't have to be everyone, it really depends on the level of consciousness you're at. A lot of people need those kind of devices, like feeling a negative emotion, to drive them to do something else. And that actually elevates your consciousness because it's pushing you to move out of that space. So not everybody has this experience, but that's why it exists that way. So your intuition could put you in a situation where you'd say, for example, with someone who isn't right for you, you go like, okay, but I felt like I needed to follow this space, and now I'm seeing, but this person isn't right for me. Like my intuition led me here, but now I can feel that this person is triggering my trauma, and it's actually, this isn't a healthy relationship, and this person isn't really the healthiest person that I know, right? So what a lot of people will do in that situation, they'll be like, whatever, it's the person, blame the person. And then they'll blame their guides and they'll blame their intuition for sending them a bad experience. And then, there's a whole bunch of jokes around lessons. It's really for the lesson, but the lesson isn't a school lesson where it's like, hey, you need to get this. And if you don't get it, you're like wrong. Your intuition is your higher self teaching you about yourself. It's allowing you to expand. We all go through conditioning. We all have karma. We all have programming. So your intuition can put you in a space where you are being triggered so you can recognize, I still have this wound. I'm being triggered because there's something that's maybe unhealed here. I'm in a relationship with another person who doesn't fulfill my needs because obviously there's an aspect of myself that is still drawn to this. So your intuition is trying to show you what you're not seeing when you're kind of like not exploring and participating in life. The best experience that you can give yourself is by being a part of life and participating in life more, being more present to life. So next time you feel like maybe your intuition has taken you to a wrong space, rather ask, why has it led me here? What is this about? What is my higher self trying to show me here that I didn't see in the space before? Because I can tell you there's a much greater gift in all of it when you allow yourself to go through the process. I know it's cheesy, but you do have to trust in that process because that process is the bridge to higher realms. Okay? So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some sort of clarity. Let me know in the comment section how that resonated for you.